Patrick Bryant is a notable entrepreneur and the partner of many businesses here in the Lowcountry, including software development firm Code and Trust. I sit down exclusively with Patrick for a special edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and download my free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. Patrick Bryant, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. Obviously, you are a founder and entrepreneur of several businesses here in the Lowcountry. Patrick Bryant, as it reads from GoTeam.com, Patrick Bryant is a partner in Code and Plus Trust software development firm, a human resource engagement software, fundraising event software, GoToTeam broadcast video services, A-Desk, and Shine Rolling Papers. And obviously, according to the Charleston Regional Business Journal, you're one of the most influential people here in this town, which is a great thing. Who else is Patrick Bryant these days?
I really just focus on software development and helping entrepreneurs grow their companies.
That's so amazing. As a matter of fact, it says this, quote, Bryant loves the startup process, that moment when you can create something innovative that can scale, when you can see that clear vision of how to get a unique product or service to everyone on the planet, and then build a company around it with a talented, great, creative people. After years as a serial entrepreneur, he founded the Harbor Entrepreneurial Center to provide a place to help others launch companies and create collision among the other entrepreneurs in the region. Entrepreneurs. How do you describe entrepreneurs now these days?
To me, an entrepreneur is anyone that's starting a business, but moreover, what I'm looking for is a business that we can find scale and really grow it in a large way. And then perhaps you exit, sell it, combine it with something else, really use that scale in a positive way.
Let me reread that. It says this, Bryant loves the startup process, that moment when you create something innovative that can scale, when you see that clear vision of how to get a unique product or service to everyone on the planet. Let me ask you this. What was your startup process?
Well, GoToTeam was the first company that I really was able to scale. And we were two guys in a truck and an SBA loan. I mean, we just kind of wrote a business plan, worked in the world, started getting shoots, and had an opportunity to start shooting for the major networks and kind of grew it from there.
That's so amazing. And it goes on to say this, the keys to his entrepreneurial success are now the founding principles taught to startup founders in the Harbor Accelerator, a 14-week program offered to 16 companies a year in Charleston, South Carolina. Each company selected receives free space, mentorship, access to investors, and free services like marketing, law, and accounting. His first principle is to think of the startups as movie scripts with a specific timeline for growing each company and a clear plan to exit. A clear plan to exit. When you got that clear plan to exit, what's next?
Well, for a lot of entrepreneurs, it's starting another one, right? I mean, sometimes you exit and maybe you go to work for that larger company, or maybe you take some time off and enjoy life for a little bit. But most of the time, I find that entrepreneurs want to get back into something else pretty quickly.
That's so amazing. Let me reread that too. Entrepreneurial success are now the founding principles taught to startup founders in the Harbor Accelerator program, obviously. What are the keys to success right now that an entrepreneur should have in your mind?
The big keys are finding an idea that can scale, which means selling it to people around the planet repeatedly. So software is one of those places that we can create scale pretty quick. That's why I focus on it a lot. But in addition to that, it is a lot easier to scale if we find something that's innovative, something that other people aren't doing in the marketplace, right? So if we can take those innovative ideas, give them a lot of resources and sales knowledge, then we can really scale them pretty quickly. And then the third leg of the Harbor Accelerator, what we're looking for is an ability to execute. So hopefully that person with that idea also has maybe industry connections, maybe they worked in that industry before, maybe they understand something kind of unique about that industry, and so hopefully they have an ability to execute on that idea. So those are really the three founding principles of the Harbor Accelerator: scale, innovation, ability to execute.
What is something that entrepreneurs are not tapping into in the Charleston market in your mind?
Well, I would go the opposite direction to say that we're really tapping into software. I mean, and not only are we tapping into it, the ideas and capabilities are growing for days. So it's that, to me, is the area that needs to be focused on, and while we're focusing on it, there's just a blue ocean of ideas out there with software. I mean, every single day there's another development that allows us to move in a different direction than we could yesterday when it comes to things like AI and chatbots and things that really can revolutionize a lot of industries in the world.
When you think of the world in Charleston, where does your mind go to next when it comes to entrepreneurship?
Charleston is on fire when it comes to entrepreneurship. I mean, compared to where we were 10 years ago, we are on every major list when it comes to top 20 places growing entrepreneurship in the United States. And our regional benchmarkets, the other markets in the United States we compare ourselves against, those municipalities are sometimes larger in scale than us, but at the same time, they are absolutely not always firing in the same way. I mean, if you look at our numbers, we're outperforming places like Jacksonville, that's double our size,
Right.
And we're keeping up, at least per capita, with places like Greenville and Raleigh and Charlotte.
Yeah.
So we're doing really well when it comes to growing entrepreneurship.
And let me ask a basic question. How do we sustain this for the next 5-10 years?
Oh, I think it's easily sustainable. I mean, because we continue to get new entrepreneurs focused on innovative ideas because of things like MUSC, spinning out technology, and then SPAWAR on the cybersecurity side. So we've got a lot of pillars in place, big institutions. I think we'll see more and more continue to spin up around Boeing.
Oh, yes.
Of course, Boeing itself is continuing to grow, but also all those vendors around it.
Right.
Blackbaud, Benefit Focus,
Right.
they continue to grow in really positive ways. So as you see those big companies grow, it's just going to continue to make that much more opportunity for people to find ideas, execute on them, and have successful businesses.
Speaking of business, let me get back to you. You have several businesses here in Charleston and around the world. Which one of those companies describe you?
Interesting. Probably right now, Code and Trust. I mean, the key to Code and Trust is that entrepreneurs with an idea or a corporation that needs a piece of software for its employees that it's going to deploy come to us when they're at the very early stage, when they've maybe they don't even have a name yet. They're still trying to figure it out, but they have a really good idea and an ability to execute on it.
Right.
And so then they come to Code and Trust, and we help them develop that first piece of software. And our team is just incredibly uniquely suited to do those kind of projects. My business partners, Andrew Strickland and Sam Staley, we've all been through that process ourselves multiple times, and in doing so have learned a lot of things that can get us to the place that we design software in a very quick way that also can test the market.
Right.
And listen to how users are working with the software, and then iterate on the software. So that's kind of our process: is start with a piece of software, deploy it into the market, and then learn from what the market's telling us and iterate on that software. So essentially, we end up being the CTO kind of software development team for a lot of entrepreneurs and corporations who need that tech team thinking like entrepreneurs.
What is the market telling you about, and I hate to be redundant, about entrepreneurship and Charleston?
That it is telling me that now's the time to be starting a business. I mean, I've been in this cycle for 20 years now, and you know when it feels good and when things are really firing.
Right.
And I can tell you that right now in Charleston, there are tons of opportunities, tons of good ideas, and that's why Code and Trust is growing so much, is because we really have hit it at the right time with the right skill set to help these people. And on the other side of the coin, the Harbor Entrepreneur Center is growing a lot too. I mean, there's just a lot of, in that nonprofit side of my life, those are kind of my two sides, right? Code and Trust, profit, and paying attention to every day and helping people grow companies. But then on the Harbor Entrepreneur Center, we're just trying to help people in a nonprofit way be able to grow their business. And that's growing like crazy too. I mean, there's just a lot of activity in our market. And so when I think about Charleston and where we're at right now, I really think that we have this great opportunity if we can just continue to harness it and grow in positive ways.
Exactly right. Obviously, you've been doing this for 20 years. What is the biggest difference between 20 years ago and right now when you think of Patrick Bryant as an entrepreneur?
Well, obviously, once you've done it, a lot of times it becomes much easier. I think when I was a younger entrepreneur, I thought that having a successful business and exiting was like a lightning strike. Like you were going to hit it at the right time, and then we really scaled up GoToTeam very quickly. And I thought this is pretty incredible, and I really enjoy it. But could I repeatedly do it, right? And now that I've hung out with so many entrepreneurs and spent so much of my time doing entrepreneurship, the reality is it's not a lightning strike. Mm-hmm. It's being a farmer, right? And the good entrepreneurs know how to plant trees, grow them in a positive way, and then harvest them. And so now it is much more process driven for me, that I understand how we're going to do it, how we're going to start it, how we're going to grow it, what ideas make sense compared to other ideas and why. And so that education process really is the difference between me and the 20 years ago, Patrick that was focused on growing GoToTeam.
GoToTeam. Obviously, when I just mentioned this to you when I was walking in the door with you, but you used to work at WIS.
Absolutely, yeah. WIS TV is where I cut my teeth as a young producer, editor, and spent a ton of time in that building. I love WIS.
Judy Gatz is the best.
Absolutely, yes.
Hi, Judy.
I have a ton of friends that came from WIS, and Dwayne Scott, right, the greatest cameraman in the nation, in my opinion, it was my boss at WIS, and the reason that we founded GoToTeam. He's the founder, and I was just running along with him, and knowing that I wanted to start businesses, that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but he was the one who really had the ability to execute on that. He's just a really talented photographer.
Oh yeah, I think he's still with the NBC News Channel, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, he's with NBC News and shoots with Lester Holt on the Daily. He's at that very top prime position, and I love him to death. He's one of my favorite people, and was just a fantastic business partner to grow a business with, and I would work with him again in a heartbeat.
In a heartbeat. How much of your television news experience do you incorporate into entrepreneurship?
A lot, because when we're starting a business, media communications is everything, right? And so getting the word out, of course, it's different today with social media and internet marketing sites in general, just being so much more important than they were back then. We were more about phone calls and emails and communication in that way. Now you have to spend so much of your time doing social media and influencing on web-based tools, and so that's really where we spend a lot of time. But it's still very much marketing, communications, and video, right? I mean, once you know that monkey trick, it's a valuable one.
That's exactly right. What is your business plan for the next 10 to 20 years?
So Code and Trust will continue to grow, and we have a very clear vision of how we'll grow that based on our types of clients and the number of people that we can service with the team that we have now. And we'll continue we doubled from last year to this year. It wouldn't shock me to double again by the end of 2020. So I really do have a clear vision on how we'll grow that. But at the top of that piece of paper would be really good people, because if you don't have talented people in the room, then you don't get to where you want to go. And that's our vision, is how do we recruit, maintain, and energize really talented people at Code and Trust. So one of the things we do is in our development team, so think coders working at their desks all day long, and we want them thinking like entrepreneurs, because that's the differentiating factor. You could send an app to Costa Rica or the Ukraine or something in order to have it developed. Right. But the difference between doing that and doing it with Code and Trust is this entire difference of our people and our partners thinking like an entrepreneur to help you get there faster and make smarter decisions on what to build, how to build it, stay at the very forefront of the future of technology, so that you can win much faster and very much limit that downside. I think the way that we build software with our dev team is really helpful to a corporation who knows where they need to go, but doesn't necessarily know exactly what to build or how to get there. And our team has that skill set. So one of the things we do to retain this talent is we have sit-down sessions where we're talking about entrepreneurship, the customer development process, why we're thinking this way. And when we are developing a piece of software, we ask and we hope that our developers are pushing back on us, saying, as I'm doing this, I don't think the button should go here. It should go here. Or when I'm using it, I don't understand why we're doing this function or that function. Because we want them thinking and developing with the customer in mind, not just putting the button wherever the easiest place to put it is.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Love that. Love it. Well, Patrick Bryant, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Yeah, thank you. Yes, sir.